We're live in 5, 4, 3. Uh-oh. You all can begin.
Good afternoon. This is Councilwoman Willis from the City of South Fulton, District 3. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have all candidates that are participating from Commission District 6, and we also have all the school board candidates who are participating. This information that you will receive today, we hope, will allow you to make an educated vote when it's time for you to go to the polls on June 9th to cast your ballot. I want to thank Mr. Dominique Huff for agreeing to be our moderator today. We really appreciate your service to all you do in the community, and thank you for moderating this forum today. This is a forum. We will not be making any preference with any candidate, and we will not be speaking of any party affiliation. Councilmember Gums, and we're in partnership with Cedar Grove Community Club. The president is Elise Fisher. We're totally neutral for this forum today. Just to give you a little perspective of my district, and then I'll turn it over to Councilmember Gums. I have approximately 1,300 or more registered voters who live in District 3 and District 6. And then in District 4 for school board, I have over 6,000 residents who live in District 3 and school board area District 4. I represent Cliftondale and Welcome, and historically, Welcome and Cliftondale for countywide elections, they typically have turned out the highest registered voters to the polls. And so Councilmember Gums and I decided to partner along with Cedar Grove Community Club to host a forum so that we can make sure that our very astute and engaged residents can make an informed decision. At this time, I will turn this over to Councilmember Gums.
Thank you, Councilwoman Willis. I am Councilwoman Carmelita Gums, and I represent District 2. And as Councilwoman Willis has stated, we do represent communities that are very highly engaged, and especially in the voter process. So it was important for both of us to come together to ensure that our residents were well informed when it was time for them to go to the polls. So I am very grateful that all of the candidates are participating tonight. I think this will be a well-informed forum for our residents. And again, thank you so much for participating. Elise?
Hi, Elise Fisher, representing the Cedar Grove Community Association, District 4 in the city of South Fulton. Cedar Grove Community Association is also non-political and non-partisan. Having said that, we think every election is important, but especially the elections that we're having this year. Many key leadership roles are going to be voted on. And out here in the Cedar Grove area, we believe that forums make it easier for everyone to learn about the candidates and develop their own points of view. So thank you everyone for showing up. And we expect another informative event this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So now I'm excited about our moderator. He has been in the community for quite some time. He kind of gives it to you on the real, and I'm excited about him moderating tonight's forum. Again, as you know, the city works very closely with the schools and with the county commission. So this is also helping us as well to keep us very informed of what's happening. So I'm going to read a short bio for Mr. Dominique Huff. Mr. Huff is a media mogul and business developer based in Atlanta, Georgia. He's the founder of several well-known media brands. He operates the Huff Firm and the 10th Amendment Media Group and is able to put power of the written word, research, and development into strategic, targeted action. Dominique loves New Jack Swing and India, is that India Ari? Music of all genres and enjoys being involved in the community. So I'm turning it over to you, Dominique.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thank you, Carmelita, for that introduction. You know, it's indie music, but I like indie IRA too, so I take it. So it's going to be a great evening. We have all the candidates here for Fulton County Commission District 6, and we also have Fulton County School Board District 4. We will be starting with the Fulton County Commission District 6. There's going to be a slight change of plans because we want to make sure that everybody is heard. So you will hear from current Commissioner Joe Corn and candidate Khadija, who will speak for 10 minutes each, uninterrupted. And the rules of the engagement will still be the same for the school board candidates. They won't have 10 minutes, but if a name is mentioned, that person will have 60 seconds to respond. If somebody mentions your name or makes an allusion to them, but there will be no rebuttal to the rebuttal. So we want to make sure that everybody feels welcome. We're not going to let nobody get attacked. With the statements, I will give everybody for the commissioners, we'll give you a 5-minute warning. Then we'll give you a 1-minute warning, and then we will just say time. In the event that you go over time, we'll just mute your mic and we'll move over to the next person. Both candidates have agreed to take questions for 5 minutes. So if any citizen has any question, please put them inside the chat box. I will see if I can get those questions so we can ask them. Please ask them in general, not to a specific person, so we can make sure both candidates have an opportunity to answer the questions. So without further ado, I want to start with the incumbent, Commissioner Joe Corn. Commissioner Corn will speak for us for 10 minutes. At that time, once he's finished with his 10 minutes, then we'll let Ms. Khadija speak for 10 minutes, and then we will have our 5-minute Q&A. Mr. Corn.
All right, good evening. How's everybody? First of all, I want to say happy Mother's Day to all our moms. Like the moderator said, my name is Joe Karn. I'm your District 6 Fulton County Commissioner. I'm proud to serve in this position, and I wanted to give a brief update in terms of what was going on the county level in regards to all of our operations, things we're doing in preparedness concerning the coronavirus pandemic and other things. So I do believe we'll start the slide here if we. So are we going to start the slide first, or do we?
Commissioner, this is JC. I am talking to LaShandra. I'm blocked from sharing the slide somehow, so you may want to go on. And
well, I'll just give an update where we're at with things. Overall, obviously we have hit the ground running, with energy, progress, and commitment to our neighbors. Working with our federal, state, and city officials. We are working to combat the coronavirus pandemic with over $100 million in funding in order to make sure that the health disparities are addressed with equity for every citizen in District 6. Recently, we received a portion of the CARES Act funding from the federal government in the amount of $104 million to be exact. On the county level, we've approved over $20 million for COVID relief funding the 1st of April. That was unanimously approved. The funding has emphasis on senior services, small business loans, and homelessness. There have been several rounds of funding, but I'll give a basic overview of the types of funding that we've been committing to our neighborhoods on a block by block level. We've committed almost $500,000 to Hosea Feed the Hungry. Hosea Helps, about $490,000 to be exact there. The NAACP, we've committed over $100,000 towards funding for food insecurity, economic assistance. The YMCA, Walter and Andrew Young facility, for instance, received $100,000. National Church Residents, who have long since been one of our community partners, we secured $250,000 in funding for food insecurity there. We partnered with Piccadilly Restaurants for home delivered meals for our seniors in the amount of $225,000. The Fulton County Action Authority, we've given them over $150,000 for rent and utility assistance. We've also made sure our homeless were not left behind in this pandemic. Homeless services received well over $1 million, starting with our largest partner, Mercy Care. They've received money for homeless testing, for homeless individuals, specifically homeless testing for our homeless population in regards to keeping this coronavirus and keeping this low in our communities. Solomon's Temple, Nicholas House, Hope Atlanta, Project Grand, which is a grandparents organization, we have funded as well. We reached out to every local nonprofit that had been on the ground doing the work with us for many, many years. In our latest round of grantees, the Atlanta North Georgia Labor Council, the Urban League, Concerned Black Clergy, Enon Baptist Church received funding from the county as well, including some of our NPUs. NPUH, for instance, received $25,000 in grant funding. And this is all to make sure our community was covered on a local block by block level. So we're glad that we are able to partner with our partners. In terms of senior services, which has always been one of my #1 top priorities, obviously the senior multi-purpose senior centers and our neighborhood centers are closed considering the pandemic and the vulnerability of our senior population. So we want to keep in mind that these services are still available online. We have services available online in terms of virtual classes we've provided for our seniors to make sure that they were still covered. We have Zoom classes scheduled weekly for all of our seniors countywide. Some of the classes include several art classes, several types of cooking classes. We have beginners Spanish classes, computer classes, yoga, beginners jewelry, fitness, chair aerobics. So you can check that weekly schedule of classes available online at fultoncountyga.gov/senior services. We also have a community hotline for our seniors. That number is 404-613-8150. That's 404-613-8150. Securing our community in this time of need. We have
5 minutes.
I'm sorry. We've
5
opened
minute
up
warning.
several testing sites throughout the county as well. Our latest sites include Wolf Creek Amphitheater, where we have testing going on, as well as Greenbrier Mall. We have testing there. We wanted testing sites at a variety of locations. We have one on Beecher Court as well at the Tennis Center off of Benjamin E. Mays Drive for mobile testing there. These are no appointment necessary. We wanted to make sure as many people were covered as possible in terms of our testing. Also, there's testing downtown at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. There's also a site at the Georgia State University, formerly Turner Field, in the blue lot. There's testing there as well. Arbor Terrace and our nursing care facilities, our assisted living facilities, that's been a big concern of myself, Commissioner Marvin Arrington Jr., Commissioner Hall, and all of our commissioners. As you all are well aware, we've had a massive press conference there the other week addressing our concerns directly with the issues going on at Arbor Terrace. Now, for the record, Fulton County and Fulton County's Board of Health does not have any authority over nursing care facilities or assisted living facilities. I'm going to repeat that again. Fulton County has no authority over these types of facilities in Georgia. Only the state has control over these facilities. We are reaching out to the state, and we have been in talks with the state. So we're working through that to make some changes there in the facilities to make sure our most vulnerable and our most valuable citizens, our seniors, are well taken care of. Folks, throughout this time period, we have been in the community on the ground, and we appreciate all of the support we've gotten from all 9 mayors. We have worked in partnership. We have had over 60 community meetings. I repeat that, 60 community meetings in the last 6 months. We have increased funding for senior services in our 2020 budget as well. We have worked with all of our county commissioners to restore the millions of dollars in community development block grants that were attempted to be taken away from our community. But we've restored those, and we're working hard to make sure that those things stay permanent for years to come in Fulton County. I have also spearheaded the transfer of county-owned facilities back to the cities where they belong. I did feel coming into office that there were some issues where the county was in court and back and forth with various cities over properties that I felt belonged to the cities. And we are securing those properties with our cities and mending those bridges and mending those relationships. I've also led the 2020 Census Complete Count Committee for District 6, ensuring that we have record turnout for our census count. So we want to make sure that we're covering all of our bases in our community. I believe we've made great progress in a very short amount of time, and we want to keep the progress going in our communities. So with that, that's about all I have in terms of our update. If we have any questions, I guess we'll get to that point when that time comes. But I want to thank you for allowing me to serve. I've been in close contact with all mayors and council members to make sure that we're serving at the maximum of our abilities. And we've broken ground in District 6 as well on some of the promises that we have kept with our community with the campaign. No property tax increases was a promise that we have kept with our community. A multi-purpose senior center in District 6 is underway and in progress. We've secured funding in hundreds of thousands of dollars for our feasibility study for our multi-purpose senior center. We have increased emergency services in District 6. Just last week, we secured 6 additional ambulances, emergency response units for the 6 cities in South County, in addition to the response that they have. So we're working hard. Our South Fulton Senior Task Force has had their first meetings. So we're making progress, and I thank you all for allowing me to serve.
Thank you, Commissioner Corn, for that information. Now, at this time, I will allow Ms. Khadija Abdul-Rahman to speak for 10 minutes about her vision and her platform for Fulton County Commission District 6. Ms. Abdul-Rahman, the floor is yours.
Thank you. First of all, thank you all for having me, and Councilwoman Gomes and Councilwoman Willis, I thank you for taking the initiative to host this. It's very important for our community to know that they have choices when it comes to the election. My name is Khadija Abdul-Rahman. I am a native of the great state of Georgia, of Fulton County, preferably Southwest Atlanta. I was educated at Peyton Forest Elementary, went through Benjamin Elijah Mays. I'm an alumnus of Georgia State University and Florida Coastal School of Law. I presently am a business owner, a small business owner in Fulton County. I own a business that provides customer sales and support. I also am a 14-year executive member of Atlanta Legal Aid. I also, executive board member. I also am a founder of JV Cares, which is a nonprofit that recognizes our firefighters and first responders, especially every year doing the 9/11 celebration. I could give you a dissertation of all the things that I'm a part of, and I can give you a dissertation of the things that I've done. But I won't take this precious, precious time that's allotted to me to do that. I will take this time to just simply ask you, our predecessor for this seat, Commissioner Emma Darnell, was my mentor. And I feel like we lack leadership in this seat. I have nothing personally with Commissioner Carnes, but I think he was a little bit too quiet on the Arbor Terrace issue. The supporters that I have and the people that I've been talking to for quite a bit of time feel like as though the bell was rung a little bit too late. When we're talking about lives, when we're talking about people, and these are people that are close friends, these are people that have mentored this entire community who have died, we will never get that history back. We will never get those leaders back. And so I take it personally, and a lot of the supporters out here take it personally, that we feel like the bell was rung a little bit too late. And would this have happened in North Fulton? We have to understand that, yes, we have a pandemic, but we cannot be quiet and sit on the sidelines. We must make noise. Yes, Dominique, yes, others have mentioned what is at the state level and what is very important. But at the end of the day, we must stand up and fight for our community. It's obvious that no one else will. So I have offered myself as a community activist with over 35 years of activism in this community to run for a seat that I feel like lacks leadership at this point. I offer myself as a cautionary tale that if we do not have someone to speak up for us loudly when it's not popular, speak up loudly for us when they have nothing to lose, or when they have something to lose, then we're going to continue to see places and things like the Arbor Terrace play out again. Because at the end of the day, we have to fight our county, especially South Fulton, especially this corridor of individuals who are highly educated, who a lot of them have bootstrap stories. We have had to fight for our voice to be heard. And we have to have leadership that's willing to make sure that we not only have a seat at a table, but when there's something done incorrectly, they will ring the bell loud and clear and quickly. And I'm that person. So I won't go over the 10 minutes. I will ask you just to go to my website, weneedkhadijah.com. Feel free to call me, 404-914-5896. And let's have a conversation as to what you want to see in your county commission leadership. Thank you.
Ms. Abdul Robert, you still have about 5 minutes and 45 seconds. You want to continue talking?
I know, but I appreciate that. But I'm going to lend that time to someone else, because it doesn't take a long time for you to tell a person what you're about. You don't have to rattle. You don't have to look for words. People are educated enough. People know enough. There's enough technology, social media for people to be able to make a decision. Someone that believes that it is quality, not quantity, that speaks to a person's character. So I don't need all that time. I will lend that time back to one of you all. Thank you.
Moderator, can you proceed at this time and asking the two candidates questions from the public that you have received? And then thank you, Ms. Khadijah, for lending that time, because we did lose some time starting.
Yes, no problem, no problem.
I appreciate that. Dominique Huff, I'm gonna turn it back over for you to ask the questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Willis. Okay, well, we're gonna start first with Commissioner Corn. What is your plan to address the growing homeless problem in South Fulton County, particularly along Cascade Road at Fulton Industrial Boulevard and Old National Highway in East Point? And you have 90 seconds to respond.
Thank you, sir. Well, homelessness is a big issue countywide, as well as across all of the metropolitan counties. This is something that we've been looking at, and the county has been looking at. However, I do not think there are enough efforts on the county level for homelessness. I want to address it in a more direct way. There is funding available for homeless services through the social services of Fulton County, behavioral health services of Fulton County as well. As you know, we're doing the homeless testing right now, but I believe we can do a lot more. I drive by every other day as I go into the office, and I see homeless individuals underneath the bridges. This is a situation that's unacceptable in Fulton County, and looking out for the least of these is one of the most important facets of public service. And I will be fighting, and I will continue to fight for our homeless in terms of increasing funding and figuring out what we can do to help stem this problem. but we have increased our behavioral health, our mental health services for the homeless, and increased the funding to address some of the root causes of those issues. But we're going to continue to work, and we're going to continue to fund
15 seconds.
we can to see to it that we can help to mitigate some of the homelessness. It cannot be eliminated, but we're going to work hard to do everything that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Thank you, Mr. Carnes. Now, Ms. Abdul-Rahman, the same question is to you. What is your plan, if elected, to address the growing homeless problem in South Fulton County, particularly with Cascade Road, Old National, East Point, and Fulton Industrial?
Our homeless issue is one that's going to require a holistic approach. When you've got people coming out of this pandemic, we're going to see the homeless numbers increase. We've got to be able to not only have affordable quality housing, we're going to have jobs. We're going to have leadership that will take on the task of making sure that we have people that are trained for the workforce. Our workforce, as we see, may change. Our workforce, you're going to find more people will begin to work remotely. We've got to be ready to change the way that employment looks, but it's just not an employability, a housing issue. It's also a mental issue. We have individuals that need mental care, and until we give the funding, the much deserved and needed funding to address the mental health issues, we will see recidivism in people getting locked up, being homeless, and individuals not having somewhere to stay because they do not have the proper treatment for their mental health issues. So we have to take a holistic approach. There,
15 seconds.
It'll take more than 90 seconds to answer that question.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul-Rahman. And I'm going to start with you this time for the next question. How would you address the issues between the cities in regards to commercial development? In case in point, sound like Johnny's bailed off. Let me re-ask that question. How would you address the issues between the cities in regards to commercial development? Case in point, the city of South Fulton and Union City have been having a contentious relationship with warehouse development in the South Fulton Parkway corridor. As Commissioner, how would you intervene with that issue? You have 90 seconds.
Okay, let me first and foremost go on record here. We do need warehouses. We don't need them all to be in South Fulton County. Okay, we have to have balanced growth. And so from an environmental point of view, we have to look at the environmental impact to our community when we become the dumping ground for warehouses. So I myself will be on the forefront of trying to work with the community to find not only balanced growth, but balanced environmental and economic growth. We don't need any more chicken houses. We don't need any more washaterias. We don't need any more fast food. We don't need any of that. We need quality growth. And we do not need to be Fulton County's trash can, okay? So I go on the record this evening telling you, in me, you have someone that wants balanced, economical, environmental friendly growth in South Fulton County.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul-Rahman. Commissioner Corn, the same question to you. How would you address the issues between the cities in regards to commercial development, particularly with the city of Union City and South Fulton, city of South Fulton in regards to warehouse development along South Fulton Parkway?
Well, one of the things I have done in terms of conferencing with our two mayors of the two cities, the concept of intergovernmental zoning is a new concept that I've proposed. And it's a type of inclusionary zoning, whereas you have two different municipalities and they have zoning in their different areas. However, sometimes you can zone something for commercial or light industrial that abuts the borders of your city. Now, across that city line, there is another city where there may be a residential neighborhood a bit too close to that light industrial zoning. So when you're zoning and reclassifying zoning, we have to be considerate not just of the neighbors in our city, we also have to be considerate of the neighbors at the line of our city inside of the other city's jurisdiction in terms of proximity and fair zoning practices. So inclusionary zoning is something we're going to be working together on with our mayors, with our council members as well, to make sure we're considerate. Because at the end of the day, the line between the city of South Fulton and Union City, it's just a line that was drawn by a state legislature. And people are impacted on both sides of that line. So we need to look at inclusionary intergovernmental zoning as one factor. Another factor that would help are accurate census counts. This year's the 2020 census is here, and the more accurate counts that we have in South County, in Southwest Atlanta, the better our zoning results turn out.
Time's up, Mr. Collins. Thank you for the answer to that question. And we're going to ask one more question in regards to that, and you keep your microphone on because we're going to start with you, then we'll finish with Ms. Abdul Rahman. The question is, what are your thoughts in regards to how small business in South Fulton County can recover from COVID-19, aka coronavirus? Many people did not get the PPP and they're ineligible for other programs. So how can Fulton County help those businesses?
Well, I can tell you this, it's going to take a lot of work. This is something that no county and no city expected. However, we've been working in partnership with all 15 of our cities, and we have increased our funding directly for cities. We have over $3 million in PPE equipment headed to our cities next week for our first responders, our police and fire department, and our frontline employees that are putting their lives on the line every day. And I have to take my hats off to all of our staff in our cities that have taken this on. In terms of workforce development, we have a strong workforce development system. It's training online is going on right now. It's under atlworks.org for each workforce area. The ARC is in partnership with this training as well. If you go to atlworks.org, you put in your address, and they will address and route you to a service for employment, for job finding, for increasing your education and resumes, and so on and so forth. But our small businesses, this is a dynamic change for all of our businesses. And it's going to be a new way of doing business in all of our cities. But I'm going to work hand in hand with our mayors and councils to make sure we come out of this thing in good shape. And we're not going to leave South Fulton, District 6, Southwest Atlanta by the wayside in any way at all. And we will not turn our backs on our citizens or our small businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. And Ms. Abdul Rahman, you're going to have the same question posed to you. What are your thoughts on how to assist the small business in South Fulton County in recovering from COVID-19, aka the coronavirus?
Okay, we've got to understand that we have to take the village approach. We've had a lot of small businesses that have closed. We have a lot of small businesses that are struggling. Me personally, I have actually done fundraising, and I have actually partnered with other community activists to make sure some of our small businesses stay afloat. We know that the Walmarts are going to stay afloat. We know that the big box businesses are going to stay afloat. But what about the local entrepreneur? What about that person that's the graphic artist that's in our district? That's the real estate agent. That's the one that's providing services to the community. How are they going to make it? We've got to be able to make sure the information, and I do commend Councilman Willis and Gums with their ability to get the communication out. We've got to let people know that there is funding out there. We've got to let people know that they need to network with other individuals. We may have to come together and put our resources together to keep the businesses going. I am a small business owner that's still surviving, and I'm surviving because of a collaborative effort in the community to work with other small business owners to actually obtain resources. So in my opinion, we have to take the village approach to make sure that we survive this.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul Rahman. And we're going to start with you for the final 90-second closeout. During this time, tell us why we should vote for you for Fulton County Commission District 6. And Mr. Corn will have the same 90 seconds to tell us why he should be reelected to the office. And the floor is yours.
I'm asking, or should I say, I'm humbling, asking for your vote today for Khadijah. And the reason I'm asking for your vote, District 6 is not for the weak-kneed. District 6 is not for the quiet one. District 6 has to have a fighter. District 6 is 209 square feet of property owners, business owners, schools, libraries, and wonderful resources, but we end up getting the last or the leftovers because we don't have a fighter. You need to send a fighter to fight for what you need. We don't need a repeat of arbitraries. How many people got to die before somebody rings the bell and says, see us, take care of us, shut this place down? So what I'm saying to you is, if you feel like the service that you have now in Commissioner Carnes is great, by all means, vote for him. But if you think it's lacking, if you think you need a fighter, a leader that's gonna be amenable to you and be truthful and let you know that you are first and we're fighting for District 6, then elect Khadijah, because we need Khadijah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Abdul-Rahman. And Mr. Corn, we're going to close out with you for your 90-second spiel in regards to why you should be re-elected to Fulton County Commission District 6.
Well, thank you so much. And again, I do want to say it's been an honor to serve, and it would be an honor and a privilege to continue to serve the citizens of District 6 and of Fulton County. Since my election, I've hit the ground running, and we have been going nonstop to make sure we're keeping our community informed. We want to make sure that our community is funded in ways that they have never been funded before. And we have made sure that instead of the counties and cities fighting one another in court with one another, we're all working together and getting along and resolving some long-standing issues that we've had because of my great relationships with my colleagues, our mayors, our council members. Serving as a vice mayor, serving as a council member has helped me to build the bridge between our counties, our cities, as well as our schools. We're working in all departments for Fulton County to make your lives easier. Nowadays, a lot of services are online due to the coronavirus pandemic, but we've made those services a lot lighter for you all. Just last week, we voted for legislation to eliminate the credit card fees for having your tag and taxes done online, whereas those fees used to cost you extra dollars. We've waived those fees, and that's going to be a permanent situation that we have decided because it's prudent to make sure we're giving you the most service for the least amount of money. We're going to continue to work with our cities, and we're going to continue to build our community. Again, I want to work hard for our community. I want to continue to work hard, and I would hope it would be an honor to be reelected to serve our community and to continue the progress that we've been making in District 6.
Thank you, Commissioner Corn, and thank you, Ms. Abdul-Rahman.
Thank you for having me.
You all are welcome. As you all know, there is no Republican contender for the commission seat, and there are two candidates. So it is safe to say that on June 9th, it will be a race to where the winner will take all, provided that no independent or libertarian candidate will do a petition to try to get on the ballot. So there you have it, Fulton County residents, City of South Fulton residents. These are your candidates for Fulton County commissioners. Thank you all again.
You're welcome.
And now we're going to talk about Fulton County School Board, where we have all three candidates who are here with us: Ms. Francesca Warren, Mr. William Davis, and Dr. Sandra Wright. What we're going to do with each candidate for the Fulton County School Board, we're going to start out, and they're going to have a 2-minute spiel that tells about why they are running for the seat and what makes them uniquely qualified. And what we're going to do first, we're going to start out with Mr. Willie Davis. Willie, how you doing?
I was still muted. I'm sorry. I can hear you
So
now.
you still muted. Okay, well, we haven't started your time yet. Glad that you're here. So
Okay.
I'm going to start the clock. And again, the question's going to be, why are you running for a seat on the Fulton County School Board, and what makes you uniquely qualified? And what I want to do,
One minute before you start that, I'm sorry, moderator, we have a timekeeper. So the timekeeper is Elise Fisher. So the only thing you have to do is focus on moderating.
Okay, thank you. That helps me
All right.
out. All right,
Okay,
cool.
so start this time over. Goodbye.
All right. All right, so the floor is yours, Mr. Davis.
Thank you. And first of all, I want to thank Councilwoman Grubbs and Willis and President Fisher and Vice President Little for putting this program together. Let me tell you somewhat about my vision for Fulton County. My vision for Fulton County schools is one county. We need to get away from talking about North County and South County. There's a misconception in South Fulton that all our schools are bad. In North County, the thought process is all of their tax dollars are going to South Fulton. So we need to talk about one Fulton serving the 95,000 students that are attending our schools. And I know part of the requirements that you asked was I am a lifetime resident of Fulton County. I was born in Atlanta and I have resided in Fulton County all of my life. What makes me qualified, different from the other candidates, is that I have been involved in working with all of our
You know, I'm pissed.
since 2004. I've served in the PTA, SGC, and also just been involved working with our schools. So I think that experience and the political experience that I've had in working with those in elected office, those in government, has allowed me to have the relationship. And also I'm a member of the South Fulton Chambers of Commerce, where we understand that education is important to the businesses that are in South Fulton. So I think I bring all of that together. And one of the main reasons that I'm running is that I think our board has not been responsive to the needs of our citizens. That's why I think Fulton County parents organized to fight. But at the same time, while we're doing that, parents in Sanders Springs are looking into starting their own school district. So those are some of the problems that people feel that the board has not been responsive, that the board has not served the interests of the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your introduction. Now we will move to Ms. Francesca Warren.
Hello, my name is Francesca Warren, and I'm a proud parent of 4 children. I have a son who graduated from Westlake. I have a child enrolled at Sandtown Middle School, a child at Cliftondale Elementary School, and a child at Stonewall Tell Elementary School. I was inspired to run for this board seat because, number one, I'm an educator by trade. So I've spent the last 19 years working not only as a teacher, but in administration in various school districts. And I found myself about 5 years ago very frustrated. I've always been an involved parent. I've served on SGC, I've worked with PTA, and I was very frustrated because I was feeling like my child was not getting what they needed within their community schools. And so one of the things that I did was that I started the nonprofit South Fulton Parents for Education in 2016, because I figured that parents did not understand how the school system was organized and what they needed to do in order to fight for what they need. So for me, this is personal. I have children in the school system. I am in the schools daily, and I see that there is a gap between what kids need, what the school provides, and communication between all three. So for me, I envision South Fulton as a place where we have high performing elementary, middle, and high schools, and not just high performing where we're talking about a score, because a score is just one metric, but a place where students love to learn, where teachers love to teach, and where parents feel good about sending their children. One of the things that I have noticed is in my work in the 4 years that we've had South Fulton Parents for Education, we've worked across the aisle with parents from North Fulton. And one of the things that we always say is that our parents don't understand the structure of what happens in schools. So we are coming from the standpoint of we just have to take things as face value. And in reality, we don't. We can we can make our schools what we need them to make. So I'm doing what I believe is the best thing for parents, the best things for students, is to actually have an educator on the board making policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Sandra Wright. Ms. Dr. Wright, why are you running for a seat on the school board and what uniquely qualifies you for this seat?
Hi, my name is Dr. Sandra Wright. I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University. I have a master's and a bachelor's in education as well as PhD in education as well. One of the reasons that I'm running is because when I look into the eyes of students and they say, I need somebody to invest in me, I want to take that kid from where they are, because there are always kids that are not, they're just different from other kids. And I want to meet them where they are and take them where they should be. Additionally, I have seen people in this neighborhood and have talked to people in this neighborhood that say, hey, look, the school board is untouchable. They're unreachable. I don't want to be a part of that kind of conversation. I want to meet these folks where they are. I want to be reachable. I want to be able to talk to people. I want to be able to talk to people when they say, oh, we've got two Fulton counties. We got a North Fulton County and a South Fulton County. We are the only metropolitan area around here that says North Fulton County and South Fulton County. Why can't it be just Fulton County United or Unified School District? I came from a place where it was called the Unified School District. We need more of that. We need to become a village. My vision is to make sure that we become united and we stay united. We lift these kids up on our wings and we take them where they need to go. We should be combined as a community to make sure that we collaborate with each other and make sure that we do what we need to do in this community. And another reason I'm running is because every time I look around, every 2 years, we have a new superintendent. I have nothing against Dr. Looney, but Dr. Rose was fantastic. I used to wear my little red shirt rooting him on, and then all of a sudden he left. So it seems like every 2 years, we get a new superintendent. I need to know why.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. And Dr. Wright, this time we're going to start with you for the next question. This question will be for 90 seconds. What are your priorities for the district in the upcoming year? Why and how did you select these issues?
Well, one of my priorities is because of this pandemic, we need to look at how these students are going to be housed this next year. How is it going to look the next school year? Will we have to put more funding for more teachers to come in? Will we have to put more funding for maybe a decrease in the school system? Instead of having 30 kids in a classroom, will we need to have room for just only 10 or 12? That's one of the priorities I'm looking at. What kind of technology can we piggyback on from this point on to make sure that we have what we need to have in that school system? That's one of my priorities. That's one of my biggest priorities, to make sure that this next school year and moving forward from that look like what we needed to look like instead of just a pandemic. We need to take care of these kids. We need to take care of these teachers. We need to find resources so that we can retain these teachers so they won't be leaving here. We need to make sure that we have resources that says, okay, I have a teacher here and she's awesome. And in 2 years, that teacher has left us. Why has she left us? We're not nurturing that teacher. We need to nurture that teacher so they could be the best teacher there is. And so we could have those students make sure that they have and feel that they have an investment by someone. We need to make sure that we have a village that's surrounding these students. And I want to be part of that village that surround these students and love on these students and make sure that they have the quality education and the quality teachers that they need.
Well, thank you, Dr. Wright, for that response. We will now move to Mr. Willie Davis. Same question. What are your priorities for the district in the upcoming year? Why and how did you select these issues? Mr. Davis, are you still with us?
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Okay. The issues that I want focus on was mental health, pre-K, and a better working relationship between parents and teachers. However, I realized that would not now be my top priority because I realized with this pandemic that we're going to have some real budget issues, and we're going to have to address how do we continue to deliver services to our schools and to our students with limited funds. The state mentioned that last month last month you lost $1 billion. You don't lose that in a state and that doesn't affect your local school district. So we have to find a way to do that. I've served previously as a chairman of a school board for a private school. So I know what it is that the first thing you have to do is the budget. I can't talk about full pre-K for all students without addressing the budget issue as it relates to that. The other thing is mental health. I used to just talk about mental health with kids, but I realized that there's an issue with our teachers also, that our teachers need to support, that our teachers need assistance, that we need to do that. Another thing that I want to do is that the board makes decision without input from the community. So I would like to establish a review board made up of teachers, parents, community, and business leaders to review any and all decisions that's going to affect instructional level in each and every school. And I think those things are important. But going into January, I think the primary thing is going to be how do we deal with the budget without our kids losing services, because that's one of the things that we find that what we
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And last but not least, we have Ms. Warren. Ms. Warren, the same question.
I think the first thing that we're in an unprecedented time, and right now parents are at home with their children, and they're noticing not only gaps, but also gaps, learning gaps to fill, but also enrichment gaps where kids need to be pushed further. So I think going into next year, we have to have a plan on how can we remediate students in an efficient way, not to add too much to what teachers to do. So one of the things that I propose is that in District 4, in South Fulton, period, we have a lot of retired educators. And so we need to get creative in figuring out how can we employ some of these people to push in, whether it's volunteer hours, whether we're using some of the $18 million in CARES money that we received, but we're pushing them in to help fill those gaps for those students, but also to remediate students who we know need to be pushed further. So I think that is a real gap. And parents are talking right now and saying, I didn't realize my child did not know this, or wow, I didn't realize my child needed this. So we have to meet them where they're at. In addition, we have to talk about how are we going to mobilize for funding. Funding is going to be an issue. Right now, Fulton County has $108 million in reserves. That will go very quickly. And so knowing that, we don't want our schools to be hit where there may not be foreign language, or there may not be orchestra, or there may not be music. And so we have to get creative. And one of the things that I've been working with parents around is, for South Fulton, we're always talking about what we don't have or we don't have. The time has come where we need to think about, well, maybe we should have cluster foundations, where parents can again work with the foundations, put teachers in, or programs that they need in the school.
And that's the time, Ms. Warren. But since you do have the microphone, you're going to start the next round of questions right now. The next question is going to be, what can be done to make the board more accessible to the community? And you will have 90 seconds for your response.
I think first and foremost is that it's 2020 and our parents love social media, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Twitter, whether it's Instagram. And so for me, it would be having a bi-weekly forum for residents on social media where they can connect with me and they can ask questions. Because truth be told, once a month, once every 6 weeks is not enough for parents. Right now, I speak to parents daily, whether it's the over 2,300 parents who are in our Facebook group, whether I'm at the grocery store, and parents have stories they want to tell. So in addition to that, you really need to have a parent university where you have groups of parents. These are parents who are different than your SGC chairs. Well, they can be invited, and it's different than your PTA. These are everyday parents working to make sure that their kids get the education they deserve. So what I want to do is to create a parent university where these are my parents with the ears to the street, and they're coming to me with concerns. And we're working with them so so that they become leaders within the building and helping their building principal, helping their teachers. And so those are things. But I think we really have to capture social media. Parents want someone who's responsive on email. They want somebody who understands how to work technology. They want somebody who they can send a message to, or they know, hey, every Friday evening or every Saturday morning, I'm going to be able to have this conversation with my elected official. In addition, is having opportunities for parents to get out and fellowship. Many times when you come to a board member, you're coming to them with a problem. Well, let's develop a relationship before that happens. So we may have volunteer experience. Say, District 4, we're focused on this. Parents come out.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Mr. Davis, the same question is to you. What can be done to make our board more accessible to our community?
Take yourself off mute, please.
I'm sorry, and I say it again. I think the board needs to be more responsible to the community. I've served as a PTA president at elementary, middle, and high school level. I have attended probably more than any parent in our district, more than 90% of the district community meetings that are held. And what I realized that parents only come out when there's a real issue. And that's not the way it ought to be. So I think that a school board member would have a responsibility to be out to the community, be out with the businesses and talk about what's going on. Coming to a community meeting and telling what the board has done does not serve the interests of people that live in that particular district. So it has to be that if I'm a school board member, then I realize that it is important to me that I get out, that I ask PTA presidents. I'm not running for office. I'm coming to bring you information about what's going on with the board and for you to tell me, hey, how can I better serve as a board member? How can I help your school? How can I work with your SGC? How can I work with your PTA? How can I work with the business and community members to get something done? We have to go beyond the mindset of only attending meetings when something negative is happening. We have to be proactive on things and not reactive. And I think that's been the problem. And a board member has a responsibility to be out in the community and not just during election time.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And Dr. Wright, your response.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, one of the things that I think that we could do, most of our parents, usually when we have our community meetings with our school board, a lot of times it's 6 o'clock. And a lot of times a lot of our parents are just coming home from school. So with what's been going on right now, we can tune in through Zoom and say, okay, and since you cannot come to the meeting, let's Zoom this community meeting and see how many people can jump aboard. I think that we would have more people jump aboard. Additionally, we have the parent university already. And so we could add more courses and talk more about what we can do as a parent university. But in addition to that, there's something called a citizen university, a citizen academy, because parents are not the only one that's invested in this community. The community members are as well. And so we need to seek advice and we need to ask what they need and what it should look like to them. They are also people that are well vested into this community. So we need to hear from them as well too. In addition to that, I think that we should continually have community meetings through being able to go to a PTA meeting, not just because, but because we want to tell our parents and the parents that are there what we are about. And we need to try to find out more ways to get people to the PTA meetings, because if you look at most of the PTA meetings, it's the same people that come over and over again. And by the time they get to middle school or high school, you rarely see them. In the elementary, you have a lot of people. And the only time you have more PTA people at the meetings is when you have some big functions that's there. And we need to bring more people to that.
Thank you, Dr. Wright, for that response. The next question is we're going to start with Mr. Davis. And this is a heavy one. So I want to repeat it for each candidate so they can definitely understand it. Fulton County Schools does not have nurses in every school as Cobb County Schools has. In light of the pandemic, what are your thoughts regarding the heavy use of clinical assistants in the schools? Even outside the pandemic, children are coming to school with more complex health issues requiring maximal support. What are your thoughts on creating policies to supporting more registered nurses to address the health issues in the schools? And we want to start with Mr. Davis for this go round.
I appreciate for the heavy question. Let me just say this, that it becomes a budget item, and I don't know if we can over budget for that, but I think it's a certain needs that we need in each and every one of our schools. But one of the things that I'm big on, because we don't have enough funds to do everything that we need to do, but we can create partnerships with hospitals, with different medical facilities, and get people that are willing to loan these nurses to come out in the schools and work with us. Because I mean, the easiest thing to say is like, okay, we're going to budget for this, but you know, we don't have the resources to do all that. But we can work, like I said, with our business leaders, with those in the medical field. This pandemic has shown that people are willing to come together in a crisis. If we communicate to them that there is a need, that we have nurses in our school, then I'm sure that there are a lot of nurses that would volunteer, not only just volunteer, that some of them that we can get certain medical places to loan them to the school for certain times during the day to do that. But right now, what we have is a rotating system where a nurse may go to Cliftondale, then may go to Rift Creek and another school. So we need to make sure that we have nurses in our facility, not just for a few hours a day, but constantly. And one of the things we can do is we can hire those nurses, and we can partnership with others that they may be willing to loan people to come into our school and help our students. And I think that would be the best way.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your response. Ms. Warren, the same question. Fulton County Schools does not have nurses in every school, such as Cobb County Schools. In light of the pandemic, what are your thoughts on the heavy use of clinical assistants in the schools? Even outside the pandemic, children are coming to school with more complex health issues requiring maximal support. What are your thoughts on creating policies to support employing more registered nurses to address the health issues in the school?
I think that the pandemic has shown us that you cannot skimp over healthcare. And so while the easy thing to say is we need more nurses, I am in agreement that we need to partner with our organizations and our schools that actually train nurses and offer some type of programming where right after out of nursing school, those nurses would come to schools and work under the supervision of a registered nurse. Now, this is something that's going to cost money. We just got $18 million in CARES money, and we've also seen where Congress has been asked for billions of more dollars. We need to find the money, because what's happening is that kids are coming with fevers, kids are coming with flu, kids have complex medicine, and you cannot skimp on a child getting the wrong medicine or a clinical assistant not knowing and messing up. And so I think we really have to talk about what is important. And what parents are seeing now, especially with this pandemic and how it's presenting itself differently with children, is that we can't skip on it. So it's going to take not only partnering with schools who train nurses and saying, hey, your nurses who are just graduating, can they come and work with us for a year? Or you might even have to go to retired nurses who are at home who would love to volunteer half of their time to come. But the conversation has to happen, and we have to have policy around it. I would also encourage the district to look at the model that Cobb County uses. This is just something that they get the money where the mouth is. This is important for our parents, for our schools.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Last but not least, we have Dr. Wright. Fulton County Schools does not have nurses in every school, such as Cobb County Schools. In light of the pandemic, what are your thoughts regarding the heavy use of clinical assistants in the schools? Even outside the pandemic, children are coming to school with more complex issues requiring maximum support. What are your thoughts on creating policies to support employing more registered nurses to address the health issues in the school?
I agree that it is a budgetary problem, but here's what I can see and look at. In most of the schools that have nursing programs, the nurses have to have a practicum just like the teachers do. So, but there are also nurses that have been nurses and they are working on their master's degree. They have actually been in the field. So those master's degree nurses can possibly come and do their practicum at some of these schools on a rotating basis, which will be great for us. They can get their hours that are needed, and then they can move forward and assist someone else, a new nurse that may be coming in that may want to do a practicum as well. Also, we have, instead of RNs, we may be able to utilize LPNs. There are still some LPNs out there that are a little bit higher than a CNA, and they can do some things that a CNA can't do. But if you combine all the efforts of an LPN, a master's level nurse that's already been in the field that's looking for a practicum, and a nurse, a new nurse that's just graduating that's looking for a practicum, I think that this will be a great way to bring in more nursing students to help our school systems.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Well, the next question will be starting with Ms. Warren. It's another heavy question. We're getting to the fun stuff now. Can you share your perception on how you feel about the upcoming budget cuts that will impact our teachers and students in District 4? What are some of the innovative ideas that you feel could be instituted to help diminish the effects of the budget cuts? And with these heavy questions, I'll repeat the question to every candidate so they can make sure they get it for the sake of fairness. And this will be a 90-second response.
We're in for a time where we're going to see cuts across the board. We may see larger class sizes. We may see foreign language. We may see music. We may see all these things cuts. And the one thing that I tell parents is that during these times, many times our schools are hit the hardest. And here's why they're hit the hardest. And a lot of school districts, remember, I'm an educator. So I've worked in Cobb County schools. I've worked in Marietta schools. I've worked in a lot of schools. And your schools who don't feel it as much are those schools who are innovative on how things are funded. Here's what I mean. Schools in Fulton County, in South Fulton, in District 4 specifically, we need cluster foundations. What does that mean? That means that as a cluster, as Westlake, as Creekside, as Langston Hughes, there is one foundation, and that foundation works with the middle school and the elementary schools in funding initiatives. So schools apply for the money. How do you get the money? Every year, parents are nickeled and dimed. We need $5 here, $10 here, $15 here. So at the beginning of the year, they have things where they may say, we need $100 from every family. Of course, there are some families who cannot pay that. So they do fundraisers. At one of my schools in Cobb, we had poker night, and poker night was used to fund the foundation. So what I'm telling parents is that we are going to feel these cuts. So we need to be very smart as we go into next year and say, what are some things that we know would be on the cutting block? It may be where we need to buy more teachers. We're saying 35 in a class is ridiculous. We need smaller classes. We need to fund that through those foundations.
Thank you, Ms. Warren, for the response to that question. The next person will be Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright, can you share your perception on how you feel the upcoming budget cuts will impact our teachers and students in District 4? What are some of the innovative ideas that you feel could be instituted to help diminish the effects of the budget cuts?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, one of the ways I think that we can deliver more to our students innovatively is there are so many of our citizens, so many of our parents that have some skills that we don't really utilize. For instance, at one of the schools I have been working with, and I volunteer all the time, and by the way, I am a professor of education that trains existing teachers as well as new and rising teachers as well as school administrators. And so one of the things that we've done in one of the schools that I've been working with, we have people that are grant writers, and they're looking for ways to write these grants so they can fund different things that are in the school system. There are so many grants out there that we don't even know about. And some of them are worth $100,000 or more. And right now we are working with a group that's trying to raise get $1 million grant. So these kinds of ways can assist with innovative ways to bring in more money in the school. It's an awesome way to tag team with our community. It's an awesome way to tag team with our parents, because parents need to know that they're needed. And if you have the skills that we need, such as being a grant writer, or if you have the skills that you can go out and talk to some of your bosses that are in power, that can bring some money in, that have some resources that they can lend to the schools, this would be an awesome way to add to that budget and find innovative and creative ways to bring more money into the school.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Last but not least, Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, can you share your perception on how you feel about the upcoming budget cuts that will impact our teachers and students in District 4? What are some of the innovative ideas that you feel could be instituted to help diminish the effect of the budget cuts?
Well, let me say this. My experience as a former school board chair for a private school, that when I first got into that position, there was about a $200,000 debt, which I eliminated in 18 months and turned that around and also built a new school. We're not going to cut any money as it relates to teaching services. And when I say that, is what a child gets in a classroom. And I want to say this, and whoever's out there, I want to say this to the people. We are spending too much money in our district office, money that could be used to educate our kids, and we need to cut at the district office. I'm not thinking about cutting the teacher or anybody that's inside of school, but those people that are in the Fulton County District Office, in the South Learning Center, the North Learning Center, the Central Learning Center. Some of those places can be cut, is heavy laced with people. For instance, you have somebody that coordinates social emotional learning from a district level. That's best served at a school. Those are where the kids need it the most in a school. So we have too many people that are on the district payroll that needs to be cut. And as I said, I believe in going out and begging and pleading with our business leaders and asking them to contribute. And all of my friends that are in elected office on the city, county, and state levels who always constantly say, we want to work with our school. Hey, we need you to not only say, I want to work with our schools, I need for you to make a financial contribution to our schools to make sure that our students don't.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. The next question will be starting with Dr. Wright. Dr. Wright, what role does the board have in day-to-day operations of the district today? What changes would you make to this role? Why and how? And you have 90 seconds.
One of the roles that the school board has is to be good stewards of the school board's money. We need to make sure that that continues as it is. Another role is to make sure that our teachers are getting the resources that they need to produce quality education for our students. We need to make sure that we meet the students where they are so we can take them where they need to be. We also need to make sure that if we look at our budget, we have the kind of budget we need. We need to partner with our elected officials on the upper level, the Georgia state level, the U.S. district level, and making sure that we get the money that we need here in our county to make things work. And so as we partner with them, we could find out what kind of money there is out there and what can we do with that money and what kind of resources can we continue to have. As a parent advocate, I've been on the Capitol Hill basically in January, rallying for education, rallying for more money, talking to senators, talking to representatives, not only in our district, but outside of our district to see what they're doing as opposed to what we're doing in our district, the lawmakers. And so it has been really an eye-opening experience to talk to other district leaders, elected leaders in other areas that say, hey, we're gonna do this for our district. So I wanna make sure that we do it for our district as well. We need to continue to partner with everybody that we possibly can to make sure that we have the kind of resources that we can.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Mr. Davis, the same question.
For me again,
yes, I can repeat it for you, no problem. What role does the board have in day-to-day operations of the district today? What changes would you make to this role? Why and how?
Well, the board has its hands in too much, and it ought not to have its hand in anything. Like I said, I've served as a school board chair, and you hire a superintendent, and you let that superintendent do his or her job. The board has no responsibility to handle the day-to-day operations of the school. They have done that far too long in the past. That is the reason why it's such a turnover with superintendent. It is not the board's responsibility to run the day-to-day operation. I also sit on the governing board for Main Street Academy, which is one of our charter schools. When we sit and we meet, we listen to what the principal needs and we talk about what needs to be done. It is not our role to run the day-to-day operation of Main Street Academy. As a school board chair, it was not my role to run the day-to-day operation. And Fulton County needs to trust its leadership with the superintendent that they're hiring and keep their hands off of stuff, because that has been the problem that has turned so many people off. And that has been the reason that we've had such a turnover in superintendent, because the boards want to run the superintendent. The board must keep in mind it only has one employee, and that's the superintendent, and he or she ought to be allowed to do their job, which they're hired for.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Last but not least, Mrs. Warren. What role does the board have in day-to-day operations of the district today? What changes would you make to this role? Why and how?
So the board day-to-day operations, they really shouldn't have any. Your job as a board is to set policy and is to employ the superintendent. The superintendent does his job, his or her job. I think one of the things that we have to move away from is it is 2020 and we should not be in the habit of just taking people's words for what is truth. So for me, as a board member, you're going to see me. I'm going to be visible. So every morning I get up, I take all three of my children to school. My oldest is in college. I take them to school. So simply me being in the hallways and saying hi and taking my kids to class is something that parents would see me in. But mainly as a board member, you have a responsibility to be a good steward of the budget and to be innovative in confronting problems that arise with budgetary issues and within policy issues. And so knowing that, you have to be out in front with your constituents. You need to not only be reaching out to making sure that, your representative, you guys are working together, but you need to be visible and you need to be working with whether it's a city, whether it's a county commissioner, but you need to be working with them to say, we are having this issue, how can you help? Case in point, a lot of our kids now are coming to school with mental health issues. They are suffering from depression, bipolar, all kinds of issues. Our teachers are struggling with mental health issues. So the county gets money for these services. So as a board member, you need to work with your county commissioner to say, I'm seeing this in my district. What resources are available for my students, for my schools, for my people?
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. The next question, and we're going to start with Mr. Davis this go round. And this is a citizen submitted question. Can you give a specific policy or initiative that you will aggressively pursue to push the south side of the district forward long term?
You're talking about now or in the past?
If you're elected, what policy or initiative, if you're elected, would you aggressively pursue to push the south side of the district forward long term?
Having a review board made up of parents, community and business leaders to review any and all policies that may affect what takes place in a school. I think that's priority. Right now, decisions are being made without input from those that are doing the day-to-day operations in the school. For instance, I think it was in January, that there was a meeting of district officials, and it was 5 people on that. And they was talking about meeting to eliminate dropout in South Fulton. Well, in the district totally. And there was no principal at that meeting. How can you talk about addressing the issue of dropout without having a high school principal sitting at that table? So I think decisions have been made without input from those who are day-to-day, the teachers, the principal. They know what's best that works in their school, and there's not one size fits all. What's needed at Wolf Creek with Ms. Glass is totally different than what Ms. Freeman may need at Cliftondale, and totally opposite what Mr. Holloman may need at Stonewall Tail. So we need to have citizens review that and have parent input.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mrs. Warren, what specific policy or initiative would you aggressively pursue to push the South Side of the district forward long-term if elected?
So it would be two-pronged. Number one is that we have to start empowering teachers. About 8 years ago, I founded the education website called The Educator's Room. And about 5 years ago, I founded the Teacher Self-Care Conference. We have to work on empowering our teachers, not only for them to, if they want to move into leadership, but also not only giving them a voice, but taking care of their needs professionally, making sure that they're able to learn about the profession, they're able to attend professional learning, and we have to make sure they are happy to teach in Fulton County. We have lost good teachers on the south side of the county, and that ultimately affects our students. In addition to the teachers, for our students, they need real world experiences, learning experiences in what they're doing. I hear from teachers and principals all the time who are saying, I'm upset because my kids can't take field trips. I'm upset because I can't get internships for my middle and high school students. So we need to pursue aggressive partnerships with businesses, with city officials, and making sure that, hey, I'm a fourth grader over at Cliftondale and I teach STEM. Can we get field trips to the CDC, or have the CDC come to us, or have some type of partnership where kids are doing hands-on learning? Because so much of the focus has been on a Georgia milestone. And then if you think about middle and high school, where you're trying to get kids ready for careers, how can we really use our community and put kids in positions where it's not only people are coming to speak to kids, but kids are actually getting out in the workforce? You think accountant, people going to Coca-Cola and working in the accounting department. These are things.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Last but not least, Dr. Wright. What specific policy or initiative would you aggressively pursue to push the south side of the district forward long-term if elected?
I am a proponent of workforce development. As I look at schools that are getting ready to start up in Milton, Georgia, there is a big push. Well, actually not a push. They're going to be starting a program in healthcare and in IT technology. These are two things that a student can leave there and actually have a job. So why not have that for every high school in Fulton County, the Fulton County United District? Actually, when I think about some programs that I've seen in the past, they actually start this in the middle school level. They start looking at different proponents that can deal with workforce. So say, for instance, you have an eighth grader that's interested in maybe healthcare. They want to be an LPN or CNA. So what they can do is shadow someone in that field during their 8th grade year. And by the time they're 9th grade, if they really want to get involved in it, we will have a curriculum and a program already set up for that, which is a great initiative. We need to start piggybacking with some of our organizations, some of our hospitals, some of the places like Coca-Cola, wherever we can find programs that deal with IT, healthcare, and some of the other workforce development programs that we can funnel our students right into after they graduate. We used to have a program in aviation mechanics at Creekside. I'm not sure if it's still there. I don't think it's there anymore. But when I look at some of the students that graduated in that program and I see them now, some of them are making $60,000 and $70,000. They are making more than their teachers are.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. The time is now 33 after the hour. Just some housekeeping notes. Given that we had some extra time with the Fulton County Commissioners that was here earlier, we're going to be pushing this out to 7:50. I know your memo said we'll be ending a couple of minutes ago, but I just want to give you all a heads up about the little bit of overtime that we're going to have. So if you all can still continue to stay with us, we will appreciate it. If you have to go to another appointment, we do understand. For those who are listening, that last question was submitted by a resident of the city of South Fulton, Ms. Joyce Stewart. So if any other resident has any questions, please make sure that you put them in the comment sections, and our host will make sure that we get them. We're gonna try to get as many questions as we're getting, as long as we're Also, we're using questions from the Cedar Grove Community Association as well. The next question is going to start with Mrs. Warren. Mrs. Warren, and this, like I said with everybody, I'm going to be repeating the questions over and over, so that way everybody can hear it, because what these questions are, they're getting heavier, and I want to make sure that people feel like they are answering the question that was asked. So, given the rate of teachers leaving the profession, are there any policies that you feel that can be enacted that you feel can help retain quality teachers in Fulton County?
Yes. So while we're in the pandemic of coronavirus, we are in another, not so much pandemic, but we are in an issue where there are thousands of teachers leaving yearly across the country. There have been studies around it. I think there should be two policies to help curb this. Number one is that teachers need a clear career path. What does that mean? That means as a teacher, it used to be where you could go and you could teach for 35 years, you could retire, you get your retirement, boom. Now we're having teachers who are coming in the profession who aspire to do other things. They want to be an assistant principal. They want to be a literacy coach. They want to do other things. Fulton County needs a clear path to how do they do that. A lot of our teachers are leaving and going to other districts for positions. So we really have to look at, are we hiring from within? Are we really grooming people to be leaders in the building? And are we acknowledging the talent that we have? For a lot of our teachers, the part of knowing that not being acknowledged is enough for them to leave. As parents are seeing, teachers have an extremely hard job. And so we have to look at those things, whether it is a Fulton County blog where we encourage teachers in the district to write about what they're doing well, where we highlight teachers, where we high five them, where we build them up. Those are things that we can do. The second thing is that we know that teaching is taxing on educators' mental health. We know this. And so as a district, we have to come to the realization that we have to give teachers time to process. They're a lot of time not having their planning period. So we need to really make sure that as we go through.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. The same question will be going to Dr. Wright. Given the rate of teachers leaving the profession, are there any policies that you feel that can be enacted that will help retain quality teachers in Fulton County?
First of all, we have to take a look at some of the teachers that are coming in. A lot of our teachers come in, they only come in for 2 years and then they leave. We need to make sure that when they come and they're leaving because of different reasons. It could be, one of the reasons could be that they've not passed the test to become a teacher. And so a lot of times that they start going in a different pathway. So we need to make sure that we bringing in the right teachers, first of all. And once we bring them in, we need to make sure that we're growing them properly. We need to have them tag team or be mentored by someone that's already there to show them the way that this can be possible for them. We need to find out if they have a really love for teaching. And once we find out we have that love for teaching, we can maybe partner with another community member or Citizens Academy and find out what this teacher needs, what kind of resources can make them skyrocket to be the very best they can possibly be. We need to make sure they have good professional development as well. There's a program, I think it's Title II, and there's money under Title II for our teachers to have professional development. Make sure they have the courses that they need, even if it means that they may have to have some mental health programs that show them how to deal with conflict resolution among themselves, or either among the other teachers there, or the students as well. So we really need to rally around our students. We need to rally around our teachers to make sure they have the best resources that's out there possible. We need to make sure that they're provided professional development as well, so that they can prosper and become great teachers and continue.
Thank you, Dr. Wright, for that response. Last but not least, we have Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, given the rate of teachers leaving the profession, are there any policies you feel that can be enacted that can help retain quality teachers in Fulton County?
Well, Dominic, I think it's a two-pronged problem. One is that teachers are leaving because they don't feel supported. That they feel like they're being asked by the administrator, by the district, to teach a test and that they're judged by that, and then they don't get the support from parents, and when they don't get the support from parents, they're turned off. That I've talked to teachers, I don't know how many teachers, but their thing is, hey, I love teaching, but I just can't deal with parents. So it's trying to figure out a way to do that for these teachers to feel supported. So they're leaving because these are not the same kids. When you talk about sometimes bringing teachers out of retirement, I've talked to some like, man, I wouldn't go back in a school with these kids today. So that's an issue that we need to do, that parents need to be more supportive of their teachers and not just call and curse the teacher out when they think something's going wrong. When I used to have a criminal case and I was tired, I used to tell my sister, look, I'm taking a sick day. I wasn't sick, I was just mentally exhausted. So I want to see something that we can have a mentor day where teachers can take as a policy to prevent them from being burned out. So I think that's part of it, is that, hey, I don't feel supported, or you need to match them up with mentor. I knew that at one particular elementary school, some new fourth grade teachers came in and they had all the criteria, but they could not deal with those fourth graders. And they left.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. And this next question, we will be starting with you since you have the microphone. Other school districts across this nation are allowing the taxpaying community to use outdoor fields and tracks in support of community health and fitness. What prevents the Fulton County School Board from doing so? And what effort would you put into removing these obstacles?
I think most of it in the past have been safety and concern as to who's coming over and using the schools. So I think we just need to make sure that we do a thorough background check on whoever's trying to use these facilities and the type of activities that are taking place. Who are these activities designed for? Who would be coming in? But I think for the past, my experience as a former PTA president, and especially with the elementary and middle school, when we tried to do things like that, it was just overly concerned about the kids and people coming in that were not part of the district and not knowing who these individuals were and how or whether or not it would be safe for the kids. So I think that, we can do something, but we have to look into a policy that, first of all, priority to be concerned of the students and concerned that doesn't leave any liability or anything to the district or the schools or any employees of Fulton County.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Dr. Wright, the same question. Other school districts all over this nation allow the taxpaying community to use outdoor fields and tracks in support of community health and fitness. What prevents the Fulton County School Board from doing so, and what effort would you put into removing these obstacles?
Well, one of the things that I'd like to say, I am a co-founder of Chattahoochee Hills Charter School. And a lot of times people have wanted to use that facility. And so what we do, we make sure we vet them and find out who they are and what their needs are for our school and the use of our facilities as well. There once was a bikers club that want to use a facility. And a lot of people say, oh, biker, we think they're wrong people. Well, this particular bikers club is really an educational bikers club. They're always doing something for the schools. As a matter of fact, this bikers club has a couple of principals that's on there and teachers as well. So we allowed them to use it because once they used it, they brought in monies, they brought in fundraisers for that particular school. So we allowed them to use it. So we have to make sure that we run it by the whole community and as well as the parents, the PTA, to find out who these people are before they actually utilize our facilities, to make sure it's safe for our students in it, our parents, and the community around us. Luckily, prayerfully, that has actually happened. We have brought people in and they've done nothing but positive things as they use our facilities. As I said, they've used it as fundraisers. They've used it as one of the people that used one of our facilities actually was, he was a rapper and he did a commercial for his album and utilized the facilities and we made sure that he knew what he was doing and he brought in some money for our school as well.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. Mrs. Warren, the same question. Other school districts all over this nation allow taxpaying community to use the outdoor fields and tracks in support of community health and fitness. What prevents the Fulton County School Board from doing so, and what effort would you put into removing those obstacles?
I think one of the things that we have to realize is that the schools belong to the community and the community belongs to the schools. So I think one of the things that prohibits them is just safety and also the upkeep of fields. If you look at Westlake, where we used to go walk at the old Westlake field, you never know who's going to come in and ruin the field for the students, leave trash. So I think one of the things that you have to do is have clear guidelines. We are, shown with this pandemic and just historically, we have a lot of community members who suffer from ailments and they may need to get in exercise. It's a matter of life or death. So one of the things that you want to do is to communicate very clearly on here's the process if you want to use our field. Here's the protocol. This is what we do. But you don't bar people from using things within reason, because that helps put the wall up between the community and the schools. Of course, you have to look out for students who are going to be there, but if we're talking health and fitness, 6 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock in the morning, there has to be clear procedures and there has to be clear, here's when you use it, here's when you don't, here is the behavior that will be tolerated. And those are situations that we can use to build community. Remember, our schools belong to the community and our community belongs to the schools. And if we have that belief, then we are asking people to come in, because then it's easier for us if we need to fundraise for our football team or our track team needs new shoes. Hey, you use our field. Are you interested in doing this? And so we have to think outside the box and put in procedure to help.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. And the last question, then after this last question, we will allow everybody to have their closing statements, and then we will close out the event. The last question will be, what is your experience with public education? How does that experience influence your perspective on what's needed today in our community? And I'm sure this is an easy question for everybody, so I won't be nice and end up with an easy one. I'm gonna start with Dr. Wright this go round.
My experience with, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
My experience with public education, I've been in public education either as a volunteer, a parent, a substitute teacher for many, many years, ever since we came to this district. And so I bring to this district a wealth of information skills. I want to continue to do that as well. As a professor of education, I could bring my skills and know-how and straight up know-how to make sure that the teachers and the parents get along. They make sure that we come together in a consensus, and we make sure that we can disagree, but still commit to be the very best system in this area as well. So.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. The same question goes to Mrs. Warren. What is your experience with public education, and how does that experience influence your perspective on what's needed today in our community?
So for the last 19 years, I have worked as an educator. I was a high school English teacher for 12 years. I went from there, I was an instructional coach, a content specialist. I'm currently a literacy coordinator. In addition to that, I have started an education website named The Educator's Room. We get millions of page views from educators around the world. I've also created a conference called the Teacher Self-Care Conference. It's about 4 years old, and we travel and I talk with principals, superintendents, stakeholders all around the country. In addition to that, for a few years, I was on the national speaking circuit around literacy, presenting all over the country. I say all of that to say that education is a passion of mine. I don't do this because I want to exalt my name. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking about education and you're talking about getting what kids need, is that public education, we need parents. And so knowing that we need parents and we need the voice of advocacy, it is important for us to, as a district, for us to see what's working in other districts that are similar to ours, to see what can we do that is not going to, that's going to be cost effective, but it's going to have long-term effects. So for me, working in public education, it is something that is not for the faint of heart. And it has made me a fighter. I say this all the time. If you can sit in front of 35 high school students and teach them and be effective, then you won't have a problem going in and looking at policy on how it affects them.
So thank you, Mrs. Warren. Last but not least, we have Mr. Davis. What is your experience?
Sorry, I got kicked out, so I didn't hear the question.
You gotta get that. Okay, I'll repeat the question for you. All right. What is your experience with public education? How does that experience influence your perspective on what's needed today in our community?
Well, my experience has been, like I said, for the last 16, 17 years, I've been involved in the schools, most all the schools in South Fulton. For 24 years, I was an attorney. I was a criminal defense attorney, and I represented young people, most of them between 17 and 25, charged with rape, murder, child molestation. I mean, the worst that you could have. And I realized for the most part, most of them did not have beyond an 8th or 10th grade education. And I realized it didn't make a difference what I did in a courtroom, that they still didn't have beyond an 8th or 10th grade education. And I wasn't making a difference. Now I have two sons. One is in college, one's a freshman at Westlake, but it's more than about my two sons. It's about those kids who school has failed them. That for the most part, everybody's not going to college. And we talk about everybody's going to college, and that's what we do. Most of these kids in 8th and 10th grade, they dropped out because high school wasn't fun to them. But I've left the courtroom to be a college and career coach. You know what I hear from students? That they want to take up barbering, they want to do cosmetology, they want to do things that our schools are not preparing for them to do. Now, Fulton College and Career Academy down in Union City has a great program, but we need more programs that our kids have options beyond college, whether that be vocational or technical school or the military or a work program. And my interest in public education is making a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Well, I want to thank all the candidates for their participation this evening. We're going to allow everyone a 90-second closeout to where you all can tell us why the people of District 4 in Fulton County should vote for you for school board. And we start with Mr. Davis at the beginning. So this go around, we're going to start with Mrs. Warren.
Thank you. On June 9th, parents have a choice. We have a choice between innovation, or we have a choice between more of the same. So as we go through and as we talk about this, it's important for us to really sit back and think about, what do we want for our children? What do we want for our schools? As the only educator who's running for this seat, it's important that we have somebody who's not only articulate, but who's knowledgeable and who is an advocate. We have a lot of tough days coming in front of us, whether it's the budget, whether it's making sure that we are retaining quality teachers. And you need somebody who understands how policy works and what policy feels like on the other side when it actually is in front of children and teachers and as a result of parents. For the last 4 years, I've been able to champion parents with South Fulton Parents for Education, the first nonprofit in South Fulton working directly with schools. We have written letters to AJC, we have spoken at the school board. And one of the things that I know is that in South Fulton, we have parents who care. We have parents who want to do the work. We just have to tell them what they need to do. So on June 9th, I ask that you vote Francesca Warren for school board. And also immediately after this forum, I'll be going live from my Facebook page for a question and answer for any constituents who may have questions or they did not get a chance to ask what they needed to ask today. And you can also visit my website at www.electfrancesca.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Warren. Dr. Wright.
Okay, and can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As a school board member, you don't have to be an educator. You don't have to be a policymaker. You don't have to have children attending in the school district. You do not have to be a local government official. But what you do have to have is the confidence to make decisions. You have to have the skills to incorporate the consensus, needs, and priorities of the community into strong policies. You also have to have a willingness to support and defend local students. you have to have the ability to listen, and you have to have the ability to listen between the lines, meaning that you have to listen to what their people are saying and not saying. But you also have to be passionate and have a passionate commitment to improving the quality of education in this community. And I am your passionate neighbor for education, a change you need, a voice you deserve. So right now, while even before June 9th, they are having the absentee ballots being sent in and early voting, I need your vote. I am your passionate neighbor for education.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. And Mr. Davis, your closing statement.
Thank you again for allowing us to have this discussion on the issues. I don't think, well, nobody has been as active in our schools over the last 16 or more years than I have. I've been in every school that's in our district. I've been in every school working that's in South Fulton. I have had a working relationship with principals, with literacy court, with SGC members. I have been active. I'm not new to it. I just didn't start a few years ago. I've been doing this since my 20-year-old was 4-year-old, but prior to that, I had served as a school board chair for a private school. So I understand the importance of education. I understand the importance of education because I've seen the effect of what happens to a child when he or she does not have that it leads them to a life of crime. When they leave that to a life of crime, then that makes our communities and our neighbors, our neighborhoods unsafe. That makes our business. We don't have people that our business in South Fulton are willing to hire as employees. So education, I said some time ago when I graduated from college, I remember a speech that I gave as class president that education is the key to any opportunity. And I firmly believe in that. And that's why I have been working day in day for years to try to push education, make education important to the people in our community, and work with elected officials to get something done. So again, I say thank you, and I appreciate your consideration and your vote. And please feel free to reach out to me if you have any additional questions. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, and thank you to all the candidates who participated tonight in the District 4 Fulton County School Board Candidate Forum hosted by the Cedar Grove Community Association and in collaboration with City of South Fulton Council members, Councilwoman Carmelita Gumbs and Councilwoman Helen Willis. This race is a nonpartisan race. So therefore, if you are a Republican or a Democrat, this will be on your ballot. The incumbent, Linda Bryant, chose not to seek re-election. So this is considered an open seat. With 3 candidates in the race, it is safe to assume that there will be probably a runoff in July for this race. If not, the winner could be determined on June 9th. Other than that, you have the information for all the candidates. You're encouraged to visit their websites, encouraged to ask some more questions that we do not have time for on this forum. I am Dominic Huff, and I thank you all for sitting down with us this evening and participating in your governance for Fulton County Commission District 6 and Fulton County Commission District 4. And I'm your local reporter from Home Rule News.
Thank you, Mr. Huff, for moderating for the Commission 6, Fulton County Commission 6, and the Fulton County District 4 race. I want to remind that we do have our last forum on May 14th at 6 p.m. and that forum will be for the Senate. No, I'm sorry. It would be for the House District 60. It doesn't say on here. Does it say?
65.
Yes, 65, House District 65. We will have all candidates for that race participating. And I want to end by saying this because this was mentioned and and this is a forum where we're supposed to be educating before I turn over to Councilmember Gumbs. And so we have 3 taxes that we pay. That's a school tax, county tax, and our municipal taxes. And for every dollar that you earn, over 50% of that dollar goes to our school taxes. And so our school taxes are getting a majority of our dollars. And so I would say that I can't speak for other municipalities because Fulton County has 15 municipalities, but the City of South Fulton elected officials they do work with their schools. They give money to their schools all the time. Our mayor is constantly giving to the athletic programs. He's constantly giving to the band. I work closely with the schools in my district, Camp Creek Middle School, Seaborn Lee, and Wolf Creek Elementary. And Councilmember Gumbs does as well. We both partner with Comcast, and we both have given our schools thousands of dollars. Every summer, I raise close to $6,000 and go into the communities and give back to school events so that our kids can be well prepared when they go back to school. I am participating in anything that our schools ask me to participate in. And so our job as a city council person is to govern our municipal services. But we are not going to be a viable city if we don't have a good education system. And so I would say majority of our council reps, council members, they do support the schools in their community. And I just wanted to clear that up because it was mentioned that we need to cut checks. Well, if you check with the principals in a lot of these schools that we govern in our districts, they will tell you they get money from us all the time. They get support from us all the time. And on top of that, majority of our dollars, our tax dollars, our Fulton County schools are receiving. So thank you all for participating tonight. Thank you for educating our residents. And our residents will, because of your participation tonight, will be able to make an informed decision when they go to the polls. Councilmember Gumbs.
Again, thank you all for
Councilmember
participating, and thank you, Dominique. I'm off of mute. I'm not muted. Hello. Can you hear me?
We hear you.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yes,
Oh,
we
okay.
hear you.
Okay. Let me start over. Again, I want to thank everyone for participating in tonight's forum. And I do want to thank our moderator. He did an excellent job, giving you all the questions. I think one of the things, and Councilwoman Willis hit it right on the head, we do support our schools. And we know how important that link is between our schools and our municipal government. Kudos to her for definitely pointing that out, because that is something that we're all very passionate about as a council. But also too, I just want to let you know that this race is very, very important. I think sometimes we kind of forget about the importance of the school board. That's why it was very important for us to host this forum. So I'm glad you all participated and that we are actually taking the extra step to make sure that our residents are informed about our school board seats. So again, thank you all for tonight. And again, this will be in our newsletters. It will be live streamed up until the race on June 9th. So thank you so much and have a good evening. Elise?
I will just say thank you to everyone who has participated. Very informative conversation this evening, and I think we've learned a lot about each of the candidates. Thank you.
All right, well, you all have a good evening and good luck to each of you.
Thank you for lending yourself for service. Have a great day.